Imagine standing on a huge stage with bright lights shining down and millions of eyes watching. Your dream feels close enough to touch, but as soon as you take that shiny trophy, a new race begins. This is the story of Fantasia Barrino, a singer with a voice that could shake the clouds and a heart that kept beating even when the world felt too heavy. Today we will walk beside her through cheers, tears, and brave choices. By the end, you will see how a young woman who almost lost everything found a stronger song inside herself and learned to sing it out loud. Fantasia was born in High Point, North Carolina. Her family loved music, and Sunday mornings rang with gospel songs that lifted the roof. Little Fantasia joined in and grown-ups stopped to listen. Even then, her notes felt bigger than the room, but home was not always easy. Money was tight, and rough days came often. Fantasia left school early and later became a teen mom. Some people said her future was sealed shut, yet when she sang, windows of hope flew open. Friends urged her to try out for a new TV show called American Idol. It sounded wild, but she packed a small bag, hugged her baby girl, and boarded a bus with more faith than dollars. On the audition floor, Fantasia wore simple jeans, a bright smile, and nerves jangling like keys. The judges asked her name. She took a breath and let loose a song so pure that one judge wiped away a tear. Viewers across the country cheered. Week after week, she returned, dazzling ears and hearts. In May 2004, at just 19, she won the whole season. Fireworks lit the night sky and reporters shouted questions. Fantasia's life changed in a single glitter blast. Yet hidden inside the cheers were piles of papers full of long words and tricky numbers. She could not read them on her own, but she signed up because grown-ups in neat suits said it was fine. In a blink, Fantasia moved from quiet streets to hotel suites and red carpets. Cameras flashed everywhere. She tasted fancy foods, met famous stars, and heard her voice on the radio. Most days felt like a dream carnival spinning too fast to enjoy each ride. She wanted a steady hand to guide her, someone who cared about her heart as much as her high notes. Instead, she met many helpers with clipboards and clocks, each one paid to keep the machine turning. They set her schedule, picked her clothes, and spoke in big words when she asked simple questions. She smiled for photos, but at night she missed rocking her daughter to sleep. Contracts arrived thicker than phone books. Clauses, percentages, deadlines. Each page held rules that would shape her future, yet no one slowed down to teach her what those lines meant. When she tried to sound out the words, embarrassment burned her cheeks. Rather than ask again, she trusted the people paid to protect her. Later she would learn that trust without clarity can cost more than money. But in that first bright year, music videos were filming, tour buses were rolling, and checks were flying in. The grown-ups in suits smiled wider each time her songs climbed the charts. Travel days blurred into hotel nights. Singing is joyful, but long tours stretched the body thin. Fantasia's voice still soared, but her spirit felt tired. She gave interviews where questions poked her private life, not her art. When she looked for guidance, she found more demands instead. Smile bigger, wear this, sing that. One morning she woke up and wondered whose life she was living. The spotlight felt warm from afar, yet up close it could scorch. She missed home-cooked meals, bedtime stories with her daughter, and quiet walks without bodyguards counting the minutes. While Fantasia chased concerts, trouble bubbled back home. Relatives asked for money, favors, or jobs on her crew. Saying yes was easy at first, but the list grew longer and louder, and her bank account shrank faster than she could refill it. One day she opened a letter that made her knees wobble. A close family member had taken her to court over words she wrote in her own life story. The news hurt worse than any headline. Family should be a nest, she thought, not a net. Yet there it was in black and white, and the cameras raced to tell the tale. Early checks had looked huge, yet tour costs, staff wages, houses, cars, and endless fees swallowed those numbers like hungry sharks. Each month the pile thinned. People said, "Don't worry, the next album will fix it." She believed them until one day a banker called. Bills were due and the well was shallow. Fantasia felt foolish but also determined. She promised herself to study every dollar and learn how cash really flows. However, lessons take time, and time was a luxury she seldom held. The world wanted new songs yesterday. At record label meetings, she noticed photos of other singers once celebrated, now gone from posters. Where did they go, she wondered. Some had stepped away by choice. Others had been pushed when sales dipped. The pattern chilled her, praise, pressure, and then silence. She feared becoming another vanished face on a dusty wall. deep inside, she vowed to keep her soul even if the price was slowing her career. Keeping that vow would mean fighting currents stronger than she knew. Executives urged her to chase club hits. They suggested outfits that glittered but did not feel like her. They trimmed her songs so radio stations would play them more. Each cut felt like trimming wings. Fantasia tried to argue kindly, saying her fans loved her gospel roots and raw sound. Some meetings turned frosty. A few smiles faded when she insisted on singing a heartfelt track at a show instead of the new pop single. She learned that in many hallways, no echoes longer than yes, yet she held her ground little by little, note by note. In 2007, Broadway called her to play Celie in The Color Purple. The character's journey mirrored her own scars. Night after night, she stepped into Celie's struggle, giving every breath to the part. When the curtain fell, the tears did not stop. She carried Celie home like a heavy coat she could not remove. Friends worried as weight melted off her frame and sleep slipped away. Still, she told herself the show must go on. Tickets were sold. People were counting on her. And so the mask stayed up while the heart beneath sagged lower. Years of pushing finally broke her. A wave of gossip hit the internet, and cameras camped outside her door. Fantasia closed the curtains, turned off her phone, and sat alone in a quiet room. Thoughts spiraled like dark storms. She wrote goodbye letters and swallowed a handful of pills, wishing only for silence. Hours later, nurses rushed around her bed in a bright hospital. She blinked at tubes and lights and felt angry to be back. But life, messy and stubborn, had given her a second chance. The hardest work would start now. Recovery was not quick. She met with caring doctors who spoke gently and listened long. In group therapy, she heard stories from people in fancy suits who felt lost just like her. That surprised her. She was not alone. She learned words for feelings she had buried: sadness, shame, fear, and also hope. At home, she threw away piles of unopened bills, called her daughter's school, and cooked simple meals. Little acts of normal life felt like sunrise. On quiet mornings, she sat on the porch, sipping tea, humming new melodies that felt honest and light. In 2007, Broadway called her to play Celie in The Color Purple. The character's journey mirrored her own. Fantasia hired fresh advisors and asked every silly question she once feared. If a word puzzled her, she stopped the meeting until someone explained. She attended reading classes at night, tracing letters like footprints toward freedom. Balancing tours and textbooks tired her eyes, but each new skill lifted her spine. She started a small garden, planting tomatoes and herbs. Watching seeds push through soil reminded her that growth is slow but sure when tended daily. Interviewers invited her back to studios. This time she set the rules: no rude questions about private matters, no gossip games. She shared her journey in plain speech, telling fans it is okay to ask for help and okay to start over. Many listeners wrote letters saying her honesty saved them from giving up. Those notes felt better than any award. She saw that her voice held power greater than chart numbers. As she studied her past, Fantasia spotted a wider weave in the music world. Bright young talents, especially young women of color, often faced huge demands with little guidance. Some lost money, some lost faith, a few lost their lives. Fantasia spoke on panels urging labels to teach artists about finance, wellness, and safe spaces. She asked veterans to mentor newcomers and fans to look beyond glossy headlines. Change moved slowly, but seeds of care were being planted. She poured lessons into new songs filled with uplifting words. On stage, she told the backstory behind each track, letting others feel seen. Her concerts became gatherings of shared healing where crowds sang every chorus like a promise to themselves. She even started a small foundation to help teens finish school and discover the joy of reading. Watching young eyes light up over a favorite book made her grin wider than any spotlight. In her 40s, Fantasia returned to film, once again playing Celie, but on her own terms. She met with caring coaches who taught her how to shed the role each evening. Between takes, she laughed with castmates, chased her now-teen daughter around set, and FaceTimed her family for bedtime jokes. She felt rooted, not rushed. Reporters asked if this was a comeback. She shook her head and said, "I never left. I just had to water my soul." Fantasia's story is not only hers, it is a mirror reflecting many hidden tales. When we cheer for bright stars, we must also care about the humans inside those lights. Ask artists how they rest, how they learn, how they guard their hearts. Support music that rings true, not just trendy. And if you are chasing a dream, remember to pack wisdom along with passion. Learn the fine print, keep good friends, and honor your own voice. Today, Fantasia stands tall, singing with more fire and more calm than ever before. She drives her own car, cooks her own food, pays her own bills, and guides her own path. Her journey proves that even when the world feels like a roaring crowd, you can still hear the small beat of your heart leading you home. When storms rise, hold tight to that rhythm. Let it steer you towards safe shore. And when the sun returns, lift your voice high and sing your story, because someone out there needs your song to light their way.